Welcome on into a Sports Memo, Sports Equinox edition of the show here. Yeah, with all these sports, a little flustered here to start the show. We got MLB, we got NBA, we got NFL, and of course, you know we got the diamond going as well. So whatever you do, just like don't do the 4-team parlay. I know you're going to do it, so I don't know why I'm telling you not to. But if you have to do it, at least do it responsibly, as everyone's rushing to get their Sports Equinox plays in. But I was surprised to see it's only like the 27th time that this has ever happened before. So, hey, sports fans, sports bettors, it's a bettor's paradise, the options that we have. And we got two great guests to break it down. We're going to have some NFL plays, some MLB plays, some NBA as well, and some props from our guy to finish it with Moneyline Matt. But first, we're going to be welcoming back. It's been a long time since we had Dan Kaiser on the show, and we're happy to welcome him back here. Want to remind you can always head on over to sportsmemo.com, grab these guys' best bets. Dan, it's great to see you having a fellow Dan back on the show. How's the fall sports been treating you? How you been since we talked last?
Yeah, it's going good. Really doing well in the NFL right now, and college football's been doing all right. Yeah, but hey, my Spartans got a win last week. We're off this week, so I look at a 2-game winning streak. And all due respect for your next guest, but we do have Scum coming up next week, so there we go.
There you go, indeed. So we'll be getting into that coming up here on future episodes as well. But MLB playoffs in full swing coming up here, Dan. So let's talk some MLB, some diamond action. Of course, we got the Yankees going tonight, facing off against the Astros. But you want to take a look at the Phils tomorrow, and us Phillies fans still licking the wounds after blowing a 4-0 lead, despite still having their ace, and I'll put in air quotes, on the mound. So, Dan, you think that those bats may just stay silent for these Phils in that game in Philadelphia tomorrow evening, 7:37 first pitch? Could be off to an anticlimactic start. How are you betting tomorrow's Phils game?
Well, I had some bets on that 18 inning affair the other night with the Houston Seattle game. So I'm looking at this game. I'm just looking to get my first bet over real quick in this one. I like the no run first inning in this game tomorrow. The first two games, neither team scored in the first inning. They did put up 6 in the second inning. In game 2. Yeah, going back to Philly, as you know, the weather could be dreadful there, cold and miserable. You got two good pitchers on the mound. This is one of those bets, you'll get your juices going right away, because you're going to have to sit through, at least, a bat by Schwarber and a bat by Soto and maybe Harper and Machado. So there's always a potential to get that, early, home run and ruin this bet. But I got a little more faith in the pitchers in this one, because I don't think they're going to want to make that mistake early, because this is an important game. They don't want to give up that early run. So I'm going to take the pitchers in this one over the hitters and bet the no-run first inning.
Going with a Nerfy to start it off, minus 140 in that Phillies Padres game going tomorrow. And Dan, I like your thinking here. Let's get the bet done in the first inning, because the 18 innings between the Padres and the Phillies in game 2, how about a brisk 4-hour game? I mean, good God, Major League Baseball. How are we doing that here in October? But, hey, what's been fast-paced is the way that the Lions have been able to move up and down the field. Let's talk a little NFL here, Dan, as the Cowboys are going to be facing off against the Lions. And before the Lions got shut out by the Patriots, they were humming at the league's best rate, the number 1 offense in the NFL. What do you think when they face off against this Cowboys defense, the much ballyhooed defense, we can say? You think that they might return to form, this Lions team, or you think that total sitting around 49 points, maybe just a tick too high? How are you betting that one?
Yeah, being from Michigan, as bad as the Lions were, at least they were exciting, unlike the Bears. So, at least, when we lost, we can still put up 45 points in a loss. And, and when we did that, we didn't even have our best 2 offensive players. So I had a lot of hope going into that New England game, I had the over in that game, and Belichick did this Belichick stuff, and shut us out, and that was fairly disappointing. And Swift is supposed to be back in this one. Again, I'm not sure if St. Brown's 100%. Dak's back for Dallas, so that could be good, but also he's going to be a little rusty, and they're going to have to work him in. To be honest, I like the under in this one. That Dallas defense scares me, especially against this Lions offensive line. I don't think they're going to be able to get the running game going, and I think Micah Parsons may eat Jared Goff in this game if they're not careful. I think it's a lot of points. I don't see the Lions. To be honest, I just don't see the Lions living up to their glories the first 4 or 5 games. And I think Dallas is going to run the ball a lot because the Lions can't stop you or me running the ball. So I think they're going to run the ball a lot, and that's going to eat into the clock a little bit. And I just think 49 is a little bit high, no matter how good the Lions looked in the first 4 weeks of the season. So I'm taking the under.
Coming off a bye, it's also the question of, that rest versus rust. And with players in, players out, maybe that 49 a tick too high, according to our guy, Dan Kaiser. Well, Dan, it's great to hear from you again. Let people know what you have up over at sportsmemo.com, what they can find when they head on over to your page, sm.buzz/DK. What do they see when they head on over there, Dan?
Yeah, right now I've got 2 plays up on tonight's NFL game. I've got a play up on the baseball game, and I've had up all week. I've had a 10-star play for college football on Saturday. Just a little insight. I'd definitely get that, but wait and get it tomorrow because I'm gonna combine that into a big college package, so you'll be able to get 5, 6, 7 plays for college football Saturday, including that 10-star play at a really nice price. So that's what I got going on for Saturday. And then NFL again on Sunday. I'm 24-11-1 this season in the NFL, so I'll have a nice card up for that also.
Love to hear it. And 2 of the 4 sports for your Sports Equinox plays, you can get on over at Dan Kaiser. 2 plays in the NFL, 1 on the diamond. Dan, always a pleasure talking to you. We'll talk to you soon. Best of luck on your plays, my guy. So that does it with our first guest, a fellow Dan. Always love getting him on there at the top. And bringing our second guest here, Moneyline Matt, because some impressive work out of Dan there, working in a shot at the Bears somehow while talking about an under, and working in a shot during a bye week for his Sparty on the Michigan Wolverines, man. That was some masterfully done stuff there from our guy, Dan. How's it going, Matt?
It was. Everything's going good, and I can't lie. Right now, Michigan State, they own the jabs with University of Michigan. It seems like we're the better team every single year, and Michigan State just somehow has our number. But this is the year it stops. Mark my words, it is over going forward. I think Michigan State is actually cursed now. They've been talking a little too much in the offseason. So I think it's Michigan's time, and we're ready to roll.
I love to see it. Guests firing shots across the bow. All they care is if each other's plays hit, as long as they're not cross-firing on the plays. So, Matt, we'll get into a little bit later what you have coming up with the UFC this weekend, one of the biggest cards and most exciting cards and what's happening with Abu Dhabi. But let's talk some NBA. Look at this Sixers game, and no, I don't stack the deck with these guests. How I had Dan talking about the Phillies. I did not force Matt to have a play on one of my Sixers, but it just happens that way. So that's how they know to get to the top of the Sports Memo Today card. It's Sixers Bucks tonight, and I'm hoping, at least as far as the spread goes, Sixers 4.5-point favorites. I'm hoping they can fare a little bit better now in the favorite role than they did opening night on the road in Boston. But you don't care about who wins. You just care about if there's some dimes being dropped from my guy, Tyrese Maxey. You got a prop you like a lot tonight, and it's some plus money. Let the folks know, Matt.
Yeah, 100%, Dan. And I do care a little bit who wins because I do have an NBA package up for tonight. So just saying that. But yes, Tyrese Maxey, we have over 3.5 assists for some plus money at plus 140. And I think some of this might be because of the first game with the Philadelphia 76ers going on the road and facing the Boston Celtics. You know, in that game, Tyrese Maxey had 21 points and 2 assists and didn't really look to facilitate the basketball all that much. So now fast forward game 2, and we have the Milwaukee Bucks coming to Philadelphia to face the Sixers. This was -4 last night, so now it's pushed to -4.5. And in this game for the Milwaukee Bucks side, they're going to be missing the team's number 2 option in Chris Middleton, and they will also be missing Pat Connaughton off of the bench. So 2 key outside shooters. You know, Chris Middleton, also a player who can go and create his own jump shot, but we are talking about Tyrese Maxey here. And I like his assists actually because of the matchup with James Harden and Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is one of the top defenders throughout the entire NBA, and he's a tough, he's a tough person to go against for any guard, for that matter. And James Harden, he had a great game in game 1 against the Boston Celtics, but he was hitting a lot of step backs and things of that nature. And I feel like Drew Holiday might give him a little bit of trouble when he tries to drive to the basket in the pick and roll situations. So in comes Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is a very good ball handler and potentially the fastest in the NBA with the ball in his hands. He loves to get out in transition. And in the past 4 years, the Milwaukee Bucks have been one of the fastest teams in pace of play. Okay, so all 4 years, top 10 in pace of play. And I expect them to come back and do the same thing because, let's face it, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the star on your team. Now, for Tyrese Maxey, he plays better in transition. Again, an incredibly fast player and very fast with the ball in his hands. That's when guys can cut to the basket. Like, now the PJ Tuckers are going to be cutting, the Tobias Harrises of the world, James Harden, even Joel Embiid. So a lot of good slashers that he can get the basketball to. And in the past, Maxey, still a fairly young player, has faced the Milwaukee Bucks 6 times, but has actually hit this assist prop 5 times in those matchups. So again, I like Tyrese Maxey for some plus money odds tonight with his assist prop at over 3.5.
And a stylistic matchup that kind of plays into it. And we're getting plus money on a guy who averaged over 4 assists last year. So I get it, out of the gate, he was tough. He was also playing against the Celtics. They were also doing the Bill Walton night. So, you're getting a player who historically, at least last year, was a more facilitator role,
For sure. And Jaylen Brown's a tough guard, too. He's a solid defender. Yeah. He's longer.
Yeah.
So especially if Maxey has that ball. And it was one of those games where from the Philadelphia side, it was a little bit slower. Boston just absolutely exploded on them, hitting over 50% in the third quarter and then carrying over into the fourth quarter. So a lot of that did have to go with momentum. Now in Philadelphia, Bucks coming into town, missing their number 2 option. I think the 76ers are going to get out and run a little bit more. So I do think stylistically it's a very good play here. And not going to lie, when I saw that line at first, I was very surprised to see it at plus 140. Tyrese Maxey is a guy who averaged like 4.3 assists last year. And you would assume just due to natural progression, he would take another step forward.
Yeah, I when I saw that it was plus money, it was a no-brainer. The second you sent it over, I was like, okay, before we do the show, I'm going to get that bet in. And I did. So Tyrese Maxey over the 3.5 assists. Always love it when it's a play that aligns with my homerism. It's a true, beautiful thing. So, Matt, let's get into this NFL play you have this weekend. We got the Dolphins back in action, and they're 7-point favorites against a team that did a little giant slaying, coming down off of a big high after playing Tom Brady and taking them down. What do you think? These Steelers come back down to earth as they're traveling to Miami? I mean, 7 points for a team with a lot of injury concern makes me say, how are you betting this one?
Yeah, so I personally think the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely come back down to earth. And I have an interesting angle with this as well that we'll get to. And real quick, just want to touch on this because this is one of my official plays for the week. I have a 4-game NFL package up right now, getting those discounted plays in there for you with the package so you get more value out of it. I'm up around 15 units in the month of October. A lot of that coming from the NFL. So definitely want to check that out going forward. But with that being said, I got the Dolphins -7. When it comes down to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their win was incredibly situational. You get absolutely spanked by the Buffalo Bills on the road. Then you come home, you're facing a Tampa Bay Bucks team who is struggling. Tom Brady, his mind just isn't in it. The team just doesn't look the same. Let's be honest. They still have a very stout defense, but on offense, they have injuries all over the place. They're trying to say, at the beginning of the season, they were trying to say Julio Jones was the same guy. That's not even close. Chris Godwin is still – it looks like he's still a little hindered with that injury. The only guy I can talk highly on is Mike Evans. I always love Mike Evans. But once again, very situational game. We actually called this on the Bettor's Almanac podcast, a sports memo-based podcast. So I very much think the Pittsburgh Steelers come back down to earth. Kenny Pickett left last game with a potential concussion. And here's my thing. Okay, if Kenny Pickett cannot play, this is at a -7 spread right now. I believe it'll get pushed up to 7.5, potentially maybe even 8. And I actually think Kenny Pickett, there's a good chance he won't play. I think Mike Tomlin is hiding this currently because last week, Mitch Trubisky and Deontay Johnson got in a fight in the locker room. So I think they could potentially be hiding that as well because there's some quarterback trouble behind Kenny Pickett. Okay, so now getting to the Miami Dolphins, they just gave that game away last week to the Minnesota Vikings. It was pretty ugly. They made some bad mistakes that ended up costing them the football game. And now this week, Tua Tagovailoa, I don't even know how to say the name, comes back though, and that's a huge momentum boost for this team. With Tua, this is a team that started the season 3-0. They were, when you looked at the power rankings, I mean, I never believed it, but they were top 3 throughout the entire power rankings. They were the #1 offense throughout the NFL. So this is just a huge momentum boost for this Miami Dolphins team. They've lost 3 in a row. Now they play a Pittsburgh Steelers team who is coming into Miami, coming off a huge win, which was essentially their Super Bowl. I mean, it's the perfect letdown spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the perfect get-right spot for the Miami Dolphins. And on top of that, if Kenny Pickett can't play, it's going to get even better for the Dolphins. We look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has been honestly exceptional with who's ever been at quarterback. But the guy that I actually think this will help the most is Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's numbers have decreased since Tua has gone out. Tua is very good at getting Waddle out on those swing passes, those quick screens, slants, things of that nature. Again, doesn't have the best arm in the world, but incredibly accurate and incredible at hitting those zone holes where your receiver will sit down in that hole. So, again, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, not a very good offensive line, not a very good defensive line. I really believe they're in this letdown spot, and I love that the Dolphins are in this get-right spot, and it might even get better. Take the Dolphins now at -7 before it gets higher.
Look at that. The Dolphins getting right. And you mentioned the Bettor's Almanac that you do with my guy, Eric Pauley, who is a fellow NFL teaser aficionado alongside me. I mean, laying the set. I know. He'll come on this show and he'll literally give out one teaser leg. And I'm like, Paulie, what are people supposed to do with one teaser leg? You got to give them the whole kit and caboodle, man. Like, what are we doing here? He's so teaser happy, man. He's just like, just take it down. Just take it down through 7, take it down through 3. This to me is a no-brainer. I know you don't get to go through 7, but you get to get off 7. I would take the Dolphins down, and in not Paulie fashion, I would pair that with taking the Indianapolis Colts up to 8.5. So there's a little teaser for you that I know since we don't have Paulie with us here on a Thursday edition, I have to fill his teaser role right there. So Matt, not only are you joining us here today, people can find you there with the Bettor's Almanac. It is a great listen. They break down games. They're giving away $50 free bets for listeners if you're leaving reviews. So check that out. You can find it on both of their Twitter pages for Moneyline Matt and our guy Eric Pauley. But tonight you also have upcoming Inside the Distance. If people haven't checked that out on Wager Talk TV, what's that all about? And I know you're pretty pumped up. What do you have loaded already for UFC 280?
Yeah, so honestly, I was somewhat new to obviously the Sports Memo and Wager Talk. I'm far more prepared now. I got packages ready to roll. I got NFL packages. I got a UFC package ready to rock, which you definitely want for UFC 280. If you're had a couple people already purchased that, so if you're watching, I greatly appreciate you. But this is potentially the greatest UFC card all time. All time. They have bangers all over the place. it's just one of those cards where they do not come around very often. So if you're going to be sitting down watching the fights, you're probably going to want to bet a little bit. You might want to get a little more prepared. Grab that package. I got favorites. I got underdogs. I got over-unders for rounds. A little bit of everything. So that's a great one. And then I also have my NBA package up. So literally got the NFL covered, UFC covered, NBA covered, and even going back to the Bettor's Almanac real quick, we released our episode this week. We were 5-0 last week, Eric and I, and successfully called the Tampa Bay Bucks, losing that game in the Pittsburgh Steelers upset, a plus 310 upset. So good listen as well. All over Sports Memo, all over Wager Talk. We are just putting out the best information possible and just trying to get the win. So definitely check out this stuff.
No, I completely agree. From producing stuff behind the scenes, from getting to talk with, guys like yourself, I have just become such a better, and my bankroll 1,000% reflects that. So check it out. Bettor's Almanac, calling 310 outright upsets. If you're not listening, that's just
they thought I was crazy. I thought I was
crazy. Yeah, and the great thing about UFC 280 this weekend is you're not going to be passing out by about the second fight because it's in the afternoon. So you want to get these plays, you want to get your bets in now because it's not you're waiting around and trying to get back after your college football losses. No, UFC 280 is the event. So check it out. Matt, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for letting us know what you have up. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. We'll see you tonight on Inside the Distance, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for having me, as always. And I personally think one of the UFC champions will fall. Tune into Inside the Distance and see what Andy thinks, see what Kyle thinks. I think it's a good card for some upsets.
Underdogs galore from our guy Moneyline Matt. Appreciate him and appreciate Dan Kaiser also joining the show here. That's going to do it for us. Nice brisk pace here for you. All this actionable info in 20 minutes or less. That's why each and every Thursday and Tuesday, you want to be locked in here to Wager Talk TV and Sports Memo TV for Sports Memo Today. If you enjoyed the show, all we ask you to do, hit that like button, hop below in the comments, let us know what you're betting on this weekend, and hit that little bell, subscribe, and never miss any of our shows here at both Wager Talk and Sports Memo. So that's going to do it for us. Enjoy the sports equinox. And for Dan Kaiser, for Moneyline Matt, I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll see you Tuesday on Sports Memo Today.